Hello, I'm Erin and I'm 34 years old. I'm a mother to a 10-year-old girl, and recently I finally got to stand up for her against my evil mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law had to pay the ultimate price for it. My husband Dylan and I got married right after we graduated from college, but waited until we were financially stable enough to actually have a child. Now, Dylan also has an older brother, Damien, who got married around the same time as us. Damien had a son, Joe, about a year before I had my daughter, Hazel. Since Joe was the first grandbaby to Dylan's mom, Camilla, he got pampered a lot, especially in the first year of his life. I saw the way that Camilla absolutely coddled and spoiled the ever-loving crap out of him, and I was actually kind of excited to have a child after that. I had no parents, considering they both passed away while I was in college, so I felt happy knowing that my child would have at least one grandmother who would spoil her senseless. Except that never happened. Camilla treated Hazel very differently, and it started right at birth. When Joe was born, Camilla visited him every day in the hospital. With Hazel, she saw her the day she was born and then never visited again. She barely paid Hazel any attention at all, like there were no gifts. Heck, there was never even a question about her well-being. Meanwhile, Joe still received all of her love and affection. Dylan and I were very hurt about her behavior, but we just chalked it up to her playing favorites with the first grandchild. But then, as the years passed, things only got so much worse. Because of their close ages, Joe and Hazel would spend a lot of time together, especially when Camilla would offer to babysit both of them to give the parents some time off. Joe and Hazel would do the same activities and play the same games, yet Camilla would go on praising Joe while she ignored Hazel, or she would downplay whatever Hazel did because it was never as good as Joe's. It used to boil my blood whenever I'd see Hazel run to Camilla to show her something she made or learned, and Camilla would just brush her off. But if Joe simply walked into the room, Camilla would be waxing poetry about his greatness. Now, Dylan and I made sure to make Hazel feel loved and appreciated, of course. In fact, we even went above and beyond to make sure that she was happy. But this went on for 10 years. I never confronted Camilla because I always managed to make Hazel feel better, and I stopped letting Hazel be around Camilla too much. That didn't stop Camilla from still being critical of Hazel. But Dylan usually handled the situation and would tell Camilla to be nicer. Anyway, everything came to a head on Camilla's birthday. She invited the entire family over to her place for lunch. As a gift, Hazel made Camilla a painting of the two of them in the park, playing on the swings. That day was the only day that the two of them spent time together without anyone else, and it clearly had a special place in Hazel's heart. I knew that Hazel would be devastated if Camilla did not appreciate it. But most of all, I knew that I'd lose my head if Camilla didn't. Camilla greeted us at the door when we arrived. "Happy birthday, Camilla." Thanks. How are you guys doing?" "Everything's going great. How are you doing?" "I couldn't be happier. My family's here and we're celebrating me." "Speaking of celebrating you, Hazel made you something." "Did you now, Hazel?" "Yes, Grandma. It's not very pretty or anything." "Darling, it's gorgeous. Just give it to Grandma. I'm sure she'll appreciate it." "Yeah, show me." "Here you go. Happy birthday, Grandma." "Oh, it's a painting. You know, Joe just made me a painting too, and let me tell you, that boy is great with his colors." "Okay, but do you like Hazel's painting for you?" "Yes, I mean, it's quite okay. I wouldn't say it was worth putting in the fridge, because if I did that, then Hazel would be put to shame when anyone saw Joe's painting." "Okay, that's enough. Hazel, go play with Joe. We need to talk to Grandma." "Yes, Dad." "Why are you always so mean to Hazel, Camilla?" "I'm not being mean to her. I didn't say a mean word against her painting at all, even though I had so many things to critique about it." "Why are you constantly comparing her to Joe? She's done nothing but try her hardest to impress you, and all you do is make her feel like crap for it. I'm not comparing anyone to anyone. All I'm doing is stating facts. And the fact is that Joe is better than Hazel at most things. Look, I can't tell you what opinions to have, but the least you could do is keep them to yourself. Every time you compare Hazel to Joe, she feels so sad and upset with herself. If you keep glorifying her every deed, she's never going to learn. She can always deal with some criticism, and in fact, learning to deal with criticism is a very important life lesson. Sure, but I never see you criticize anything that Joe does. That's so unfair to Hazel. Life's unfair. Get used to it. You know what? Since you're so hell-bent on comparing Hazel and Joe together, I simply won't let you meet Hazel. She doesn't deserve a grandmother who doesn't love her and constantly makes her feel bad about herself. You can't stop me from seeing my grandchild. Son, say something. No, Mom, Erin's right. You need to apologize and show us that you're willing to treat your grandchildren equally. And only then we'll let you see Hazel. Camilla couldn't believe that we were standing up to her. We called Hazel back to us and we left the party shortly after that. We did get a few texts from some family members telling us that we were jerks for leaving so soon and causing a scene, but none of them saw how crumpled Hazel's face looked when Camilla dismissed her painting altogether and compared it to Joe's. Dylan and I ignored all the texts we got about us leaving, and eventually people stopped bothering us. About a week and a half after Camilla's birthday, Camilla finally called me. I was tempted to not answer the call, but decided to be the bigger person and give her a chance. Hello, Erin. Hi, Camilla. What's going on? Oh, nothing. Just wanted to call and see if you were still mad at me. I wouldn't say that I'm mad, but I am upset with you. Look, I've been giving it some thought, and I realize that I may just have been a tad bit mean to Hazel. A tad bit? You were a lot mean, to the point where Hazel simply doesn't do anything on her own because she's so worried about how bad she is. Oh my, that is not what I wanted to do at all. Yeah, so maybe you owe her an apology more than me. I agree. Anyway, I was only calling you because I had an idea of how I could make it up to her. Oh, really? How? Well, I was thinking of taking Joe on a ski trip in the first week of next month. I've already rented a lodge and we'll be going by car, so there's plenty of room for Hazel if she wants to join in. You want to take her on a trip? Just her? Well, I figured it would be a great way for us to bond and for me to make amends for how rudely I treated her. I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? You wanted me to make amends, and when I'm trying, you have an issue with it? Look, in our presence itself, you treat her so badly. Who's to say that you won't treat her the same or even worse when Dylan and I aren't around? I know this is a trip that you want to use as a way to make up to Hazel, but this is a big jump. Are you trying to say that you don't trust me? I'm her grandmother. Why would I hurt her in any way? I'm not saying that I don't trust you. All I'm saying is that I'm worried that if you do or say something unintentionally mean, no one is going to be there to comfort Hazel. I promise you that I won't let anything happen to Hazel. I swear that I really want to use this trip as a way for me to make up to Hazel. I'll talk to Dylan about this and I'll get back to you by the end of the week, if that's okay. Yes, of course. Take all the time you need. I was definitely leaning towards not letting Hazel go, but I knew that was not a decision I could make on my own. So that evening, Dylan and I discussed how we felt about letting Hazel go. On one hand, we knew what Camilla had been like for years, and the chances of her treating Hazel any differently was slim to none. But at the same time, this was the first time that Camilla made an effort to actually bond with Hazel. Dylan and I didn't want to take away Hazel's only chance to bond with Camilla. We knew that Hazel still loved her grandma, and we didn't want her to think that we weren't going to let her do certain things just because Camilla was involved. We also talked to Hazel and asked her how she would feel about going on a trip with Camilla and Joe, and Hazel was very excited about it, so it was decided that she would go. Camilla seemed very happy that we decided to let Hazel go with her. She promised us that she would take good care of Hazel, but something in my gut told me otherwise. So before Hazel left, I gave her an old phone of mine and told her to hide from Grandma at all costs. I told her to keep it on her at all times and to only use it when she absolutely needed to call either me or her dad. I prayed that she would not have to use the phone, but of course things did not go that way. Just a day after she left, I got a call from Hazel. I answered the phone hoping that Hazel just missed me, and that was the reason for her call. Mom? Hazel, sweetie, how's my baby doing? Are you having fun? Mom, I'm so scared. What? What's wrong, honey? Why are you crying? It's so cold. I want to come home. Okay, honey, where's Grandma? Are you lost? See if you could find a ranger and they can guide you back to your lodge. But I'm standing in front of the lodge. I'm so scared and cold and hungry, Mom. Please, please come get me. What? Okay, wait. Honey, I need you to calm down and tell me what happened. I don't know what happened. After all of us came back from skiing, Grandma got mad at me and stole all my warm clothes and locked me out of the lodge. I've been asking her to let me in for so long, but she isn't listening. What? Why would she do that? Hold on, sweetie. Your dad's going to get you some help. Why don't you tell me why Grandma was mad? Are you and Dad going to come and pick me up? Of course, sweetie, but it will take us a while to get there. In the meantime, we'll have someone else take you to a safe place and give you something warm to wear, and probably even hot chocolate. Okay, please make it fast. It's so cold. I know, sweetie. Now tell me why Grandma got mad. Well, Joe and I were both skiing for the first time, and Joe was struggling to keep his balance while I could do it really well. You could? Sweetie, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Mom. But it really wasn't that hard. Hush. You don't have to be so humble about it either. Okay. But Joe started crying after seeing me do well, and after our instructor kept praising me. Grandma got mad at me after that, and she didn't talk to me until we got home, and then she just threw me out. What? I'm going to give that woman a piece of my mind. Do me a favor, sweetie, and do not tell your grandma that I'm coming there, okay? Yes, Mom. Sweetie, your dad's saying that there's a ranger approaching you right now. Can you see him? I see someone approaching me. Ask him what his name is and ask him what his favorite drink is. If he says anything else but Sam and hot chocolate, ignore him, okay? Yes, Mom. Okay, his name is Sam, and he loves hot chocolate. Should I go with him? Yes, sweetie. Take care and keep me updated, okay? Yes, Mom. My heart was racing as soon as Hazel ended the call. How could Camilla do that to a child? I was 100% sure that Camilla would not even care to look for Hazel because she'd be too wrapped up in taking care of Joe. Dylan and I grabbed our warm coats and jackets and made the 3-hour drive to where they were staying. The entire drive there, the only thing we were focused on was making sure that our little girl was safe. I was still waiting for a call from Camilla to at least tell me what happened, but I got nothing. Hazel kept texting me every 15 minutes to let me know that she was fine. Getting those messages eased Dylan's and my worries, but that only gave rise to another emotion, anger. We were furious at Camilla for putting our daughter's life at risk in that manner. If I hadn't sent Hazel with the phone, what were the odds that she'd be able to find a ranger herself? I was willing to bet that they were very slim. By the time Dylan and I reached it, it was starting to get dark. I told Dylan to find Hazel and wait in the car for me while I dealt with Camilla. As I approached Camilla's lodge, I heard Camilla's loud laughter, and that only made my blood boil even more. I knocked on the door and waited for her to open it. Camilla looked very surprised to see me there. Erin, what are you doing here? Where's Hazel? Oh, she's just out and about somewhere. You mean you don't know where she is? You were supposed to be looking after her. I sent her here in your care. Look, nothing bad ever happens around her, and I'm sure she's safe. Is this your way of making things up with Hazel? You just leave her alone to wander in a place that's cold and unknown to her? Why don't I call a ranger, and I'm sure they'll know about where she is. Yeah, there's no need for that. We're here because Hazel is at one of the rangers' cabins. So she's safe, and you just came out here to yell at me? You didn't even seem bothered. Are you nuts? My child could have gotten hurt, and you wouldn't have known. Do you love Joe so much that you were willing to put Hazel's life in danger? What are you talking about? Hazel told me about what happened when you were skiing today. You're the one that pampered Joe so much that he can't stand it when he can't be perfect at something. You beat that value into Hazel but refused to do it with Joe. You clearly have a favorite, and while I have no problem with that, I do want to know why you were willing to let my daughter freeze out here in the cold because Joe threw a fit about not being able to ski as well as Hazel. That was not the case at all. Do not even try to lie to me. I spoke to your skiing instructor and he corroborated Hazel's story. Fine. If you must know, I hate that Hazel looks like the spitting image of you. Excuse me? I do not like you one bit, and I hate that my only granddaughter looks nothing like my son. Joe looks exactly like his dad, and that is why I treat him so well. So you treat my daughter like crap because of the way she looks, which is something she had no control over? She deserves it anyway. The way she was gloating today was unacceptable. I had to teach her a lesson. You know what? If I keep talking to you, I'm afraid that I'm going to get violent. I will deal with this in another way. I don't want you near my family ever again. Camilla didn't even bother following me as I went towards the car where Dylan and Hazel were, and the thought that Camilla didn't even take anything I said seriously made me angrier. After I made sure that Hazel was not harmed in any way, Dylan and I took her out for dinner and we talked to her to make sure that she wasn't traumatized in any way. Thankfully, the rangers that kept her company were really sweet and distracted her enough to not think about what Camilla had done to her. That night, after we put Hazel to bed, Dylan and I decided that we were going to speak to a lawyer and figure out if we could press charges against Camilla for what she did. Dylan and I spent the next week gathering information, and then we decided to file a case against Camilla for child neglect and ask for her grandparents' rights to be taken away. It didn't take long for Camilla to call me and yell at me for filing a case against her. What did you do? You filed a case against me? Hello, Camilla. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Quit the sarcasm and answer me right this second. I told you that I was going to deal with you another way. You filed a case against me for child neglect and you're asking for my grandparents' rights to be stripped away? I see nothing wrong with that. I didn't do anything wrong. You can't ruin my name and reputation like this. You endangered my daughter because of your childish mentality. You bullied her for years only because she looked like me. It's okay to hate me, but to bully a child? That's unacceptable. You're only going to be paying the price for what you did. I didn't think it was this bad. You could have talked to me about this instead of charging me with a crime. I did try to talk to you, Camilla, and when I finally thought that you listened to me, you went ahead and put my daughter's life at risk. I don't think that any more talking would have changed the way you behaved towards Hazel. Fine. Charge me with whatever you want. You can't prove a single thing. Kids make things up, so there's no way to prove whatever Hazel says. You know that the lodge you rented had many security cameras around it, right? Not to mention, we have the rangers to confirm our story and many witnesses. You're going to go down. I'm sorry. Please, I promise I'll be better. I doubt that. Why don't you use this time to think about how to be a better person and why what you did was wrong? I'll see you in court. Nothing made me feel better than hearing Camilla beg me to go easy on her and drop the charges. But dropping the charges would not only tell Camilla that I would let these kinds of behavior go, but it would also tell my daughter that I wasn't there for her. And I would never send either of those messages. Over the next few weeks, I went to court a lot. The jury and the judge looked appalled when they heard what Camilla had done to Hazel. It's safe to say that Camilla had a very hard time defending herself. Because she didn't actually cause any harm to Hazel, she was charged with a pretty heavy fine and was given a restraining order from my family. She was also stripped of her grandparent rights. It was so satisfying to watch Camilla break down when she heard her verdict. I don't know why she was sobbing so much when she had no issue making my daughter feel the brunt of her anger. Nobody in the courtroom felt an ounce of pity for her, and that, in my book, was a win. Camilla did call us again after the hearing, but Dylan told her to stay away from us for good. She once again cried and begged us to let her make things right with Hazel again, but why would we let her do that again when she showed us what making things right was, according to her? Not to mention my daughter absolutely hates Camilla and doesn't want anything to do with her. Now, don't you worry about my daughter's newfound talent. After everything with Camilla was wrapped up, Dylan and I took Hazel to another place where she could ski as much as she wanted, and boy did she do that. The three of us remained in the snow all day, and I had to practically drag Hazel back into our cabin after the sun began to set. I'm just glad that that one experience with Camilla did not ruin something this good for Hazel. Things are slowly starting to get better at home, though. Joe's dad, Damien, called us to apologize for what happened and has put Joe through therapy so he can nip whatever bad habit that Camilla has instilled in him. It's safe to say that everyone in Dylan's family has gone low to no contact with Camilla. I'm excited to see where life takes us from here on. One thing's for certain, I am never letting anyone ever make my daughter feel like she's lesser than anyone else.